You walk into a grocery store, fill your cart with avocados from Mexico, quinoa from the Andes, and almonds from California, feeling proud that your plant-based diet is contributing to a healthier planet. But what if the foods you associate with sustainability are actually contributing to deforestation, carbon emissions, and water overuse? The truth is, the exotic plant-based foods many of us rely on are part of a global system that carries significant environmental costs. Today, we'll explore the hidden toll behind sourcing these foods from across the globe, and why plant-based diets may not always be as eco-friendly as they seem. When we think about plant-based diets, we often imagine locally grown produce, reducing our environmental impact. But the reality is far more complicated. Many plant-based foods, like avocados, quinoa, and cashews, don't just appear in our supermarkets. They're shipped from thousands of miles away. This global supply chain carries a hefty carbon footprint that most of us never see. Take the avocado, a staple of plant-based eating. In 2021 alone, millions of tons of avocados were exported from Mexico to meet global demand. But every time an avocado makes its way across borders and continents, it requires fuel for transportation, refrigerated containers, and extensive packaging to keep it fresh. All of this adds to its environmental impact, from the moment it's harvested to when it lands in your cart. The emissions from growing, harvesting, and shipping avocados contribute significantly to the global carbon load. Similarly, foods like quinoa, grown primarily in South America, also travel thousands of miles before reaching your table. The energy required for its transport adds to its carbon footprint, meaning that while we might think our plant-based meal is lowering our environmental impact, the reality is that it's likely adding to greenhouse gas emissions. As demand for plant-based foods grows, so does the need for farmland to produce these crops. And often, this expansion comes at the cost of forests and natural habitats. For example, the growing global demand for soybeans, often used in plant-based products, has driven significant deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. Known as the lungs of the earth, the Amazon plays a critical role in absorbing carbon dioxide. But as trees are cut down to make way for soy farming, the carbon stored in the forest is released into the atmosphere, further accelerating climate change. Palm oil, another ingredient used in many plant-based processed foods, has similarly caused vast areas of rainforests to be cleared, particularly in Southeast Asia. This deforestation not only releases carbon, but also destroys habitats for endangered species like orangutans. The environmental cost of these foods is staggering, creating a situation where eating plant-based for sustainability may have the opposite effect in terms of habitat destruction and carbon emissions. Water is another overlooked aspect of plant-based diets. Certain crops, including almonds and avocados, are incredibly water-intensive, and their production strains water resources, especially in areas already suffering from water scarcity. Almonds, for example, are primarily grown in California, a region that has faced severe droughts in recent years. Producing just 1 pound of almonds requires about 1,900 gallons of water. Given the high global demand for almonds, the water needed to sustain this production has contributed to California's water shortages, stressing local ecosystems and threatening long-term sustainability. Avocados are no different. They need large amounts of water to grow, and in Mexico, where many of the world's avocados are produced, this demand has led to over-extraction of local water supplies. As water resources are diverted to irrigate avocado orchards, local communities and wildlife are left with less access to water, exacerbating existing environmental challenges. While plant-based foods are often seen as a more resource-efficient alternative to animal agriculture, some crops require just as much water, if not more. Without considering the impact of water use in the production of these foods, we may be unintentionally contributing to environmental degradation. Much of the plant-based food we consume is produced through monoculture farming, where large areas of land are dedicated to growing a single crop year after year. While this maximizes production, it also leads to significant environmental problems. Monoculture farming depletes the soil of essential nutrients, leading to soil degradation and erosion. To maintain productivity, farmers often rely on synthetic fertilizers, which can run off into nearby water sources, polluting rivers and oceans, and contributing to dead zones where aquatic life cannot survive. Additionally, monoculture farming requires large quantities of pesticides and herbicides, which can further harm local ecosystems and contaminate the soil and water. The demand for crops like soy, quinoa, and almonds is converting more and more land into monoculture farms, leading to further loss of biodiversity. In the long run, this kind of farming leaves the land less fertile, less resilient, and more vulnerable to climate change, deepening the environmental crisis we're trying to solve. The environmental impact of plant-based diets is far more complex than it might seem. While eating more plants can have health benefits, the environmental toll of sourcing certain plant-based foods from far-off regions is significant. So, what can we do to reduce the environmental impact of plant-based diets? First, we can prioritize local and seasonal produce. By choosing foods grown locally, we reduce the distance our food needs to travel, cutting down on carbon emissions from transportation. Supporting local farmers also keeps resources within the community, promoting more sustainable agricultural practices. Second, it's important to diversify our diets. Instead of relying heavily on a narrow set of exotic plant-based foods, we can expand our diets to include a wider variety of plants. By doing so, we reduce the pressure on ecosystems in regions where monoculture farming dominates and help support more balanced agricultural systems. Third, we should support sustainable farming practices. Look for products certified for sustainable farming methods, like organic or regenerative agriculture. These practices focus on improving soil health, promoting biodiversity, and using water resources responsibly. Supporting farms that use these methods helps ensure that the food we eat has a lower environmental impact. While plant-based diets are often promoted as a solution to environmental issues, the reality is that the global supply chains for these foods come with hidden environmental costs. From deforestation and water overuse to the carbon footprint of transportation, sourcing exotic plant-based foods from across the globe can contribute to environmental degradation in ways we may not realize. To truly reduce our impact on the planet, we need to rethink how we source and consume plant-based foods. By choosing local and seasonal produce, supporting sustainable farming, and being mindful of the environmental costs of certain crops, we can work toward a more sustainable food system that benefits both people and the planet. If you found this information eye-opening, consider sharing it with others and subscribe for more content that explores the hidden impacts of our everyday choices.